Good evening, members. I'll just share my screen. Okay, so this planning application is for the construction of a detached bungalow, including a single detached garage. This is a resubmission of a current live approved planning application, which is of the same design, albeit a small extension to the rear. The principle of a single dwelling on this land is therefore already established. So this slide shows the site location. So it's located to the south of Fairman Place. This just demonstrates the street scene, so there's a mixed design of housing. The existing layout, so the site is currently cleared with a small shed in the corner. So this shows the existing layout approved under the original planning application against the new layout. So as you can see, the only differences are this rear protrusion at the back. So this measures 1.7 metres in depth and 4.7 metres in width. Apart from that, they are completely the same. So this shows the proposed internal layout. So as you can see, it's a 3-bedroomed bungalow dwelling. It also has a garage for cycle storage as well. These are the proposed elevations. And photographs of the site. So the main planning issues are design and character of the area, neighbour amenity, and highway safety. The conditions have been repeated from the existing application for consistency purposes. So these can be found on page 16 and 17 of the officer report. So our recommendation is that planning permission is to be granted subject to planning conditions. Thank you. Any questions?
We will now have speakers on this application. So we have Councillor Newby from the Corby Town Council, who is speaking in objection. So Councillor Newby, if you could take your seat over there. Thank you. And you will have 3 minutes for your presentation. And then afterwards, you'll be invited to stay and members can ask you any questions relating to the information that you've given. So thank you. So off you go.
Right. I would like to say on behalf of the Planning Committee that firstly, when one goes through the documents, there are only 2 documents available on the previous applications from 2017 and no document which outlines whether the Planning Committee objected. It certainly objected in this case from a case of overdevelopment, and we felt as a committee that it wasn't suitable development for the area, and I believe that was on both occasions. There is another objection from a neighbour, and the neighbour has requested a site visit, and I don't know whether that neighbour has had a site visit, and I don't know whether the planning officers have visited the site. And obviously there was an application in 2021 for a 1.5-storey addition, which was withdrawn. And I feel that in this instance, the planning department is not considering the comments from the planning committee. Or similarly, they're not taking into account the objections of the neighbours. From a personal point of view, I would have thought it would satisfy the neighbours more likely if the plan of the property was reversed so that the garage was against the neighbouring property and the bulk of the building was against the property that owns the land. But that's just a personal point of view. I think that really sums up what I need to say.
Councillor Newby, if you could remain seated. Thank you very much. Thank you for your presentation there. Members, do you have any questions for Councillor Newby? Councillor Diane.
Thank you, Councillor Newby. I understand that just before us this evening is just the difference between the old planning permission and the new extension, which is 1.5 metres, I think you mentioned there. So I just wanted to confirm, Councillor Newby, that Corby Town Council was aware that planning permission was accepted for the bungalow, and that what is before us tonight at committee is just the modification to the bungalow. Is that correct?
As I understand it, the planning permission has expired, and this is a revision of the existing planning application, but the planning application is, once this has been approved, should this be approved at this meeting, that would then be a new approval of an application. I think that is the case.
Could we get some clarification on that, Chair?
Yeah, Holly, could you
Yeah, of
inform
course.
us?
So there is a current live permission, and it was approved on the 14th of April 2022. So that lasts for 3 years from that point. So that is a material consideration that we have taken into account.
Okay, I stand corrected.
Any more questions for Councillor Newby? No? Thank you very much, Councillor Newby. We'll see you soon. Can we now have the applicant, Mr. McFarlane, please? So the same applies to you, Mr. McFarlane. You have 3 minutes to give your presentation, and then you'll be invited to answer any questions from members. Thank you.
Good evening, everyone. So my name's Stuart, and I'm the applicant for the new dwelling. So my wife and I have lived in Thurman Place for 18 years. We've raised 2 daughters there, both of whom left home now. And when this site came up to buy, then we pounced on the chance because we wanted to downsize. The previous application for the same site, which has already been approved in 2022, when we bought the planning permission, this was had been approved. And after looking at the drawings, after purchasing the land, we realised that the lounge wasn't quite going to be big enough for when our family returned home, which they do quite regularly with their partners. So we did consider leaving the house as it is, because we understand we will be able to actually do this small extension as permitted development at a later date. But we do want to fit underfloor heating throughout the house with a heat pump, so we just decided to put an application in now to save this at a later date. The proposed extension has a floor area of less than 5 metres by 2 metres, which is 10% of the approved floor area to this property. We thought our architect would apply for the amendment to the previous approval, but she admitted a new application. This and the previous application received objections from one of our adjoining neighbours in Delapre Place on the grounds of loss of sunlight, loss of privacy and dominance. The planning officer has already considered these points and concluded that our house will be screened by fencing, which will not cause any overlooking issues, and there is sufficient distance between our property and the objecting neighbour's property so as not to be too dominant. This application has also received an objection from the Town Council due to overdevelopment. The planning officer has concluded that the proposal has sufficient amenity area for the existing and proposed dwelling. That's all I have to say. Thank you for your time.
Thank you very much, Mr. McFarlane. Members, do you have any questions for Mr. McFarlane? Councillor Calhoun, thank you.
Thank you, Chair. Mr. is it McFarland or McFarlane?
McFarlane.
McFarlane with an E at the end. Yeah, it's just there are two different spellings there. It's only curiosity. You say you've lived there for quite a number of years, Mr. McFarlane, and this is just an addition to your home to make the home just a little bigger. Yeah, and you don't see that there's any objection or any viable objection from the neighbours?
No, none of the neighbours in our street are fine.
Sorry, Mr. McFarlane, I'm a bit hard of hearing.
All the neighbours in Firmin Place are fine with what we're planning on to do. We've actually took away part of the roof along the back to make it a flat roof, which should be less imposing on the neighbours.
Yeah. I did actually take a drive round there today, Chair, out of curiosity as much as anything. That's all I wanted to know. Thanks very much.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Have you got any more questions? No. Councillor Addison, you're just... Okay, thank you. Okay, that's fine. Mr. McFarlane, if you could take your seat in the gallery.
I think these are actually the wrong way around. That's the layout that's been planned on, been approved on the right, and the one on the left is the one that we've applied. That's the new layout here, and that's the approved one. So the little roof sticking out on the back of the building, we've planned to come across the back.
Okay, with that clarification of the layout, are we all still happy?
Yep.
Okay. Yep, thank you for clarifying that. If you can take your seat. We now have any questions for members to the officers. Thank you. Councillor Diaz.
No questions, Chair. I think we should just move to vote. I'm more than happy with the layout, and I don't think any of us have got any other questions, to be honest.
Okay, we've got a proposer for this application. Do we have a seconder?
I'd be happy to second it, Chair.
Thank you. Okay, we move to the vote. Councillor Sims.
In favour.
Councillor Calhoun.
For.
Councillor Addison. Councillor DL. Yeah. Councillor Buckingham.
For.
Councillor Watt. For. This application is passed. Thank you very much. Officers, right. So, Jasbir, are you introducing Fernando, or are you just going straight to Fernando?
Sorry, the case officer would, Fernando will be introducing this. Thank you.
Fernando, thank you. 16 Sawgrove Drive.
Thank you, Chair and members. I just share my screen. Just bear with me while I fire up the screen. Sorry, I'm sharing.
Let me just turn that off first. That's it. Okay, so
Thanks, Paul.
is that the PowerPoint?
Yeah.
Sawgrove?
Yeah.
There you go.
Thank you. Sorry about that.
Thank you.
So this is a planning application at 16 Sawgrove Drive in Corby. This slide 2 shows in the red dot the application site. It's a corner plot on the junction with Kelmarsh Road. not far away to the left where you see Willowbrook Road. These two photographs show like a panorama of the application site, which is on the right and a bit of the left. So if I use my cursor, if you can see that, the proposal is for a 3-bedroom dwelling attached to number 16 Sillgrove Drive. This is an existing site layout. The application site is edged in red, and the blue is the ownership of 16 Sillgrove Drive at the moment, the residual. This is the proposed layout. The square with the hatching is the footprint of the proposed 3-bedroom dwelling, and as you can see, it's consistent with the building lines for both Kelmarsh Road and Sillgrove Drive. This slide 6, shows a proposed street scene, which is a front elevation. And the proposed dwelling is this section here on the left. And as you can see, it's almost a mirror image of the existing property along the terrace, one of 4. This slide 7 shows the internal floor layouts at ground floor level and first floor. So you've got lounge, kitchen and hall at ground floor, obviously. And at first floor, you've got 3 bedrooms. This is the proposed elevations, front, back and side. As you can see, that's the front elevation. The bottom, you can see my cursor there, that's the rear elevation, and this is the side elevation that presents to Kelmarsh Road. This is a more detailed block plan, external layout, showing the footprint of the application site of the dwelling there. What's in addition to this, there'll be 2 parking spaces accessed off Kelmarsh Road, which are satisfactory to the highway engineer, although a neighbour has objected on that point, saying that parking on road is a bit difficult on occasions. You've got a rear garden area here and a side garden area, and it's going to be fenced in by a 2-metre high fence, a 1.8 metre high fence. I'll just move on. So the planning issues, really, again, the character of the area, the implications on that, amenity and land contamination. The environmental health officer has advised for a precautionary land contamination planning condition, just in case the unexpected event that they find contamination in the soil during construction, and highway safety. So on balance, weighing it all up, the recommendation is planning permission should be granted subject to planning conditions set out in the report. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Fernando. We have one speaker on this. We welcome back to the Chair of Council Newby, the Town Council.
Hello again. Similarly with this application, the Corby Town Council Planning Committee sent in an objection to this application on the grounds that it was overdevelopment of the site and it destroyed an amenity area of land, the ownership of which is unclear. It isn't necessarily the case that you need to own the piece of land that you're applying for planning permission on, and it would seem that a large piece of amenity land, which is part and parcel of the area and is part of the nature of the area, is being taken up for a building which is going to be attached to what is a terrace of buildings. So the end terrace of the building will be, the end terrace of the existing building will be compromised by the new proposed development. There are developments on similar pieces of land in the area, but they are not attached unless they are attached to the building at the end of the terrace and within the curtilage of the piece of ground adjacent to the properties, which is normally divided in a diagonal fashion and is not, as shown here, a complete square. So I would suggest that it's possibly overdevelopment and overuse of an area of amenity land. And by necessity, it changes the character of the estate and the character of the building, and the objection from the person opposite, which is a parking issue and an access to property issue, which will not be advantaged by this building. All I'm doing is passing on the comments of the planning committee. Fine. That's fine.
And is that you finished?
That's me done.
Well, thank you. Members, do we have any questions for Councillor Newby?
Chair, not necessarily for Councillor Newby, but I've asked Fernando about this piece of land and whether it is amenity land or not.
That's irrelevant.
Sorry, Chair?
I think that's irrelevant because you can apply for planning permission for any piece of land. You don't have to own it.
If I can assist, the use of the land is a different thing, but land ownership, as Chair says, is not relevant to a planning application. Anybody can put a planning application on any piece of land. But I think your point, possibly, Councillor Addison, is the use of the land rather than the ownership of the land.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you, Chair.
When we come to officers' answers, we'll pose that. Have we got any more questions? Any questions for Councillor Newby? No? Oh, Councillor Buckingham.
Can I ask, have you been to this development? Have you looked round?
Yes, I have. I've looked around the estate, and it's part of an area which I know well because I work in Thurrowsell Woods.
Okay. So it's on the corner of Kelmarsh Road, is it? And
Solgrave Road, yes.
Is there parking spaces along that first road? Because it looks like it is in pictures, but I can't see it sufficiently. I know that there's drop curbs either side.
There's a drop curb to the side of Solgrave Road, which was presumably an access to a garage which has long since disappeared.
Okay. Thank you.
Councillor Colquhoun.
Thank you, Chair. Not so much a question, Councillor Newby, as a statement of fact. Again, I drove around there yesterday. It seems quite a spacious area for a small dwelling. And when I went round, there were two sort of half-stripped cars on that piece of land. Personally, I would rather see a nice home for someone than a couple of half-stripped cars, Chair. Thank you.
Can I reply to that, Chair?
Have you finished, Councillor
Colquhoun?
Yeah.
We believe that the residents at number 16 repair cars and so on and so forth.
Okay, good.
I don't know if that's of any relevance or help, Chair.
I think it's a good observation. Councillor Newby, you want to come back?
Yeah, I wanted to come back on that. The area at the present time is totally vacant apart from a couple of wheels which have been parked there. There are no cars there. The property was sold not so long ago, 2021, I believe, and it is now. There are residents there. I don't know what their comments are. I did pass by this evening, and the red van that's in the photographs was still there. So they come and go, but it was a builder's type van. I think the other areas of a similar nature in the area are all fenced and enclosed, and what you would see going on behind that, well, you wouldn't see anything going on behind that fence other than people parking cars in their own drives. the reason it's being used as a vacant lot is because it's a vacant lot.
Any more questions? No? Councillor Newby, you can take your seat. Thank you. And we now have members' questions to officers, and I think Councillor Haddison had a question first. Did you not, about the land itself?
Well, I take your point. Anybody can put in planning application on a piece of land, but this is to build on the amenity land. Who has ownership of that? That's why I'm not quite clear. If you see what I mean, if you can put in for planning permission, but if you don't own it, can you build on it? That's.
I think Fernando can give you that answer.
Yeah, I didn't speak to, I emailed Mr. Thornton, who's the applicant, and he's clarified that he's in total ownership of the plot of land, both 16 and the application site. I think he's recently purchased it, and from what I can see, it may have been in the past that the part of the site was part of number 2, Kelmarsh Road, but has been acquired by the applicant some time ago. Not the applicant, the previous owner before. But that's as much as I can say really about the land ownership. But as to it being amenity land, I'm not sure that has been the case in the past, in the strictest sense.
Okay.
Councillor Addison?
Yeah, continue on then, Chair. The actual size of the application, I'm not quite. They're going to attach it to the current building. Is that right?
That's correct. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I noticed there's a window on number 16 at the moment. So what happens?
All the side windows will be on that elevation will be blocked up. On the present building, so you won't have like a connection between the new dwelling and the old dwelling. It'll be like an entirely separate dwelling, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it makes sense. I know
Yeah.
what's going to happen there.
Councillor Dial.
Thank you, Chair. I just wonder whether we could ask Emma to give us some legal advice on this case, please, because, and just for us to have a short adjournment. I really don't understand what I'm able to approve and not approve here. So, could we just have a short adjournment and Emma could give us some advice?
By all means. So, Emma, could you give us some advice?
Yeah. So. Anybody can put any planning application on any piece of land. So I could put a planning application on your house. I could submit a planning application as long as I serve notice on you. Anybody can put a planning application on any site. So there's clearly evidence that the site is owned by the applicant, which is the person that lives at I don't know whether they live, but they own number 16. So it's attaching it to that property. So there's no bar in planning terms, in planning legislation, to stop you granting permission, whether or not they can actually physically build it. There's nothing to stop that.
Do we know, Emma, if do we have any information about what the house is going to be used for? Is it going to be a HMO? Or, are we allowed to ask that, Chair?
No, it's not relevant. This is an application for a building and not for a change of use or usage.
Could I just chip in? The application is described as a 3-bedroom dwelling, which is just the normal interpretation of a house. So.
The fact that this looks like a 3-bedroom dwelling and not an extension of the adjacent property, and all of the extra work that's going to go into making it an independent dwelling, sort of says to me that it's just a home on a vacant piece of land. Councillor Dial.
I think Councillor Newby mentioned it earlier that, you know, there are some very big plots of land on that kind of Willowbrook, Sulgrave kind of drive area, and I think there have been some houses built. I think there's one on Rowlett Road, there's one on the corner of Shakespeare Way, where they have built onto those plots of land. I think traditionally those are kind of detached properties, so they're kind of in, you know, just at the side of the house. So I think this is just a little bit of an unusual thing that is being come to committee because it's attached to the house. We're kind of scratching our heads as to kind of, you know, what it's you know, going to be used for and whatever. But I just want to ask another question of Emma, if I may, Chair, and that is, you know, if we, you know, refuse the planning permission here, is this likely to be challenged, and are we likely to lose?
Emma?
Obviously, you have to have planning reasons for refusal, and the planning officers have looked at this and don't feel that there is. They could obviously advise further in terms of the planning terms, but it on the face of it appears to be a reasonable sized plot for a single dwelling as an extension to this terrace.
Any more questions?
When you open the meeting, I'll ask some questions, Chair.
Sorry, just to help members, Fernando did say there was a planning permission for this site, and that's now expired. In terms of another question that was asked, that the current end house is a terrace, and basically what the proposal will be, it won't be an end terrace, it will be a middle terrace with another house that would be an end terrace. So from the photographs that you, from the drawings you saw, it'll be a mirror image of the current end terrace house. Basically it's a 3-bedroom family house. Thank you.
Councillor Sims.
Thank you, Chair. I think bear in mind when you take everything into consideration, the principle that's been set, the fact that I know the area as well myself. I was brought up there as a child. There is a mixture of semi-detached, detached properties, etc. in that area. I personally think it would be an improvement to the area, and I also think if we were challenged, and that especially on, even if on highways, because highways have got no objection, I think we would probably lose. So therefore, that would be a cost to the council, and also that would obviously affect the taxpayers in the local area in Corby. So therefore, I would propose that we recommend with the officer's recommendation.
We've had a proposer. Do we have a seconder? Councillor Colquhoun, seconder. We'll go to the vote. Councillor Sims?
For.
Councillor Colquhoun?
For.
Councillor Addison?
Abstain.
Councillor Dial?
For.
Councillor Buckingham?
For.
Councillor Watt? For. This application is passed. Thank you. Councillor Armour, you have joined us. You can now take part in the proceedings. Right, the next on the agenda is the demolition, is the Old Methodist Church in Cottingham. If we get to that one. 29. And we have Fernando once more to present on this when we've got past our little technical issue.
Sorry about this, I need it on the screen. So Paul needs to assist me, please.
Fernando and his assistant. Thank you. Over to you, Fernando.
Thank you, Chair. Sorry about that. So this is a planning application at Cottingham Methodist Church on Corby Road in Cottingham. As you can see on the screen, the application site is where the red dot is, the pointer, which is described as the nook, but that's the entrance point, the closest entrance point into the site from Corby Road. I'll use my cursor if you can see that. You've got Rockingham Road at the confluence of the junction with Corby Road, and there's other roads that lead off it as well. The picture on the left is the front elevation facing the road of the Methodist Church, former Methodist Church, and on the right, which I can't see on my computer, but it's a picture of looking up the road, up Corby Road. You can see the general character of the area there. This is a picture. The left-hand photograph is a side elevation of the Methodist Church, and the building just a couple of less than 2 metres away is 8 Corby Road, and you can see the relationship with the two there. It's quite tight, but nonetheless we'll show you on this location plan. The application site is a very tight curtilage edged red. The pattern of development is shown by the darker shadings of on the screen there. So this is the existing layout. You've got Corby Road on the left. The front, you've got the Methodist Church is this building here, if you follow my cursor around. So you've got two parts to it that form the overall chapel. This is a proposed ground floor plan. So what the applicant is proposing to do is provide 3 bedrooms at ground floor in one part of the building, and then kitchen, dining and other living accommodation in the other part. And then at first floor there'll be a large bedroom with ensuite wardrobe and bathroom, and with a void in that part. The space above the kitchen and living area would be a void, so there'd be no first floor in that part of the building. These are the existing elevations of the Methodist Church, and if you can hold that in your mind, and then I'll show you the proposed elevations. The main external changes are the 3 windows on the rear elevation at first floor level, and some new glazing at ground floor level where the existing single-storey extension is to be removed to make way for a patio. Again, if I look at the roof plan for the proposal, 9 roof lights are proposed, which are of very high level, so they don't give rise to any overlooking issues, thankfully. To summarise the implications of the character of the conservation area, amenity impacts, loss of community facility and local heritage and highway safety. These matters are all addressed in the report. There are some minor policy conflicts, but overall on balance, to bring the building back into use, there is a recommendation that planning permission be granted subject to planning conditions as set out in the report. Thank you. I'll take questions later. Thank you.
Thank you, Fernando. So we have 2 speakers on this application. We have Councillor Davison from the Parish Council in objection. And Councillor Davison, you have 3 minutes, and then be invited to answer any questions.
Thank you very much, Chair and members. Hopefully I'm going to get some questions at the end, so my 3 minutes will extend, but it doesn't have to. Very simply, this is one of the very old buildings in Cottingham. It's not actually a listed building, but it is of marked heritage value, as recorded in our neighbourhood plan. We originally saw, and when you sought approval for change of use, which we approved, we didn't actually get the application for a 2-bedroom dwelling, which has already gone through, and we're now faced with a 4-bedroom dwelling. And our problem is, some of the problems have been addressed by the change of windows at the back, which we're very grateful for. And we would accept the fact that you need Velux lights, although they're not strictly speaking ideal for that sort of building. But our real major problem is with the parking. Because if you've got a four-bedroom house, you need at least 2 car parking spaces in my book. Our neighbourhood plan, which has planning implications, does say that no development should occur which involves extra on-road parking. And there are a whole variety of reasons why we think this, and whether I've got enough time to do it all. Basically, we've had a very good survey, well, I'm not sure it's a very good survey, but a survey done identifying many parking spaces in Cottingham. The problem is that most of these are actually a considerable distance away from the house, and if you've got a pushchair, plus shopping things, you're never going to get there. And a lot of the places which were identified are clearly unacceptable. We've got a large bus which goes down there regularly 5 times a day, and if you've got parking on one side and a long stretch with parking, the bus is going to be absolutely awful. We accept that a 2-bedroom house, yes, you would get away once, and there may be space in front of the chapel, but a 4-bedroom house is, with the restriction on the parking availability locally, is, to our mind, and all the members of people in Cottingham, is unacceptable. I would urge that this is rejected on those grounds. If you feel minded to delay things, then I would think that at the very least there ought to be a visit to actually have a look and see what we are actually talking about, which is difficult from this distance away. I know in the past there is precedent for having visits to Cottingham to see exactly what we're talking about problems about traffic, visibility, and so on and so forth. So I've tried to keep that short.
Thank you, Councillor Davison. Now, Councillor Davison's asked if we would be minded to have a site visit. Councillor Sims.
Thank you, Chair. Clearly, I actually live in Cottingham, as most of you are aware. I know the area. There is a parking issue there. Having said that, the beat survey was done. However, I think it may be useful for members to visit the site and have a look for themselves, and then they can make a more of an informative decision.
Okay, so we've got Emma, were you going to give some sort of advice on that?
If members are minded to defer this for a site visit, that's well within your remit, as long as there's reasons for the site visit.
Okay, I guess a show of hands for deferral for a site visit. Yeah, I think that's passed. In that case, there is no reason to continue with this application until we have visited the site at a later date. So I apologise to Mr. Gandhi for his... where's Mr. Gandhi? Mr. Gandhi, I apologise for your attendance tonight, but obviously we need to visit the site and... Jasby, were you going to say something?
Yes, just for clarification, in terms of seeing the parking in the vicinity, the gold standard for a parking survey to actually see what the parking situation looks like is recommended by the Highways Authority, by the Highways Officer, and that time is 12:30 to 4:30 a.m. So that would be, for you to actually verify the parking, it would be basically midnight. So that's a recognised times to do the survey. So I'll just inform members. But if you saw it at 3 o'clock or 12 o'clock or 10 o'clock, that wouldn't be the true picture as the highways officers see. That's all. Thank you.
Members, anybody think that 12:30 to 4:30 is a good time for them? I'm not sure. I think probably after everybody's got home from work. So we're not talking about a day visit then here. We're talking about an early evening visit. Yeah. So, Councillor Buckingham, you want to say something?
Yes, please. As Councillor Owen said, a bus goes down that road. So if a car was parked outside that property during the day, that might have an impact on that. So it's not just parking at night. You're looking at if it's a family home and you've got somewhere, and on the photographs it looks as if there's room beyond the path to actually park. If you look between the wall and the whatever.
Well, all I can say is thankfully the County Council has seen to it there's not many buses going down that road now. So Councillor Sims wanted to come in.
Thank you, Chair. Just to clarify that, as I said previously, I do live in Cottingham. There is a local bus service going through that area, not very often, because it's not used that much, although I think it is a service that should be provided to the local communities. But cars can pass there, and because I've passed there, well, my wife drives now, I don't drive at the moment because of an illness, but she drives past there, and she's not the best driver in the world, and if she can get by, then most people can. But what I would also add, that if you see a vehicle of that size coming through there, then you're going to slow down, which is only a benefit to the health, road safety for the area.
Sorry, could I just suggest that we've obviously had a decision for tonight, which is to defer for a site visit, and given that the applicant has not had an opportunity to speak, maybe we should perhaps not debate this any further until it comes back to members next time.
Yep, I'm in agreement. Councillor Armour did want to say something.
No, I just wanted to check. So it will come up at the next planning committee meeting.
The last planning committee, probably. I would assume so. If we can get our site visit done before the next planning committee meeting, yes. And so members, just check on the likelihood of the time. The time would be in the early afternoon then. Late afternoon, after everybody's come home from work. Okay, so we've got that. The day of the next planning committee is normally the day that we would do it. Fernando?
If you're going to meet in the evening on the site and the committee meeting's on the same day in the evening, have I misunderstood what's been said?
Well, we've got another month for it to get a bit lighter, so we'd be talking about 5:30ish for 5:36, and then yeah. Okay, we're all in agreement on that. So thank you very much. And once again, Mr. Gandy, apologies. Our next application is change of use retail shop, and Holly's going to present that one again.
Thank you, Chair. This application is for the change of use from a retail shop, use class E, to a hot food takeaway, which will fall under sui generis. It's proposed to be a Thai and Malaysian takeaway. So this is the site location. It's located along the parade of shops along Rockingham Road. So these photographs were taken about a month ago. So this shows the front elevation and the rear. As you can see, there are flats above, and then to the rear there are examples of commercial equipment. These photographs have been provided by Property Services at North Northants. So these show the internal layout and state of the store currently, and the bottom photograph shows the front elevation with the shutter up. So this is the current street scene, again taken about a month ago. It just shows the mix of stores along the parade. So this is just a key to show the occupants of the current stores along Rockingham Road. As you can see, there are currently 3 vacant units, and then a large mix of other stores, including a few takeaway options at the moment as well. This is the existing floor plan, including WC to the rear, and the proposed floor plan just shows the electrical inputs required for the takeaway. So the main planning issues are the principle of development, the design and impact upon the street scene, and the neighbouring amenity. It's been acknowledged in the officer report that this change of use would be contrary to policy 20 of the Corby local plan, due to the applicants not being able to provide robust marketing evidence for a continuous period of 12 months to demonstrate that there has been no retail interest, which would continue the use within Class E. However, property services have explained that it has been vacant for 3 years. They are just not able to provide the detailed marketing evidence that we would expect. However, on balance, it's felt that the departure is justified, as the building could remain vacant since there has been no other interest in occupying it otherwise for a continuous period of 3 years. Therefore, our recommendation is that planning permission is to be granted subject to planning conditions, and this planning condition includes noise and control measures as well. Thank you.
Thank you, Holly. We have one speaker on this application. Councillor Newby, welcome back.
I must apologise, Chair. There are 2 planning applications in Rockingham Road. One is for a conversion of the upper storey of a building to what would effectively be an HMO. This isn't that property. The planning committee objected to this on the basis of, and I will say again, the basis of lack of variety of retail to the existing street scene. And I would just like to reiterate that objection, but I would like to bring to the attention of the committee that the Corby Town Council Planning Committee is still looking for some direction on HMOs, and we're finding it very difficult to resolve any issues when these come to our attention. And I'll leave it at that. Thank you very much.
Thank you for being succinct. Members, do you have any questions on this application to Councillor Newby? No. Councillor Newby, you can take your seat. Thank you.
Thank you.
And members, any questions for Holly? Councillor Sims.
Thank you, Chair. I'll just say that it's already been stated that the property has been vacant for 3 years. It's been marketed, and with the change in people's habits, retail sector, the economy, you've got lots of retail shops that are empty up and down the country. So I think it's better that it's in use of something rather than just lying empty, which could actually attract would be negative to the local community and could attract antisocial behaviour. So I'd like to propose that we accept the change of use.
Okay. Councillor Calhoun wanted to make a comment.
Yes, just another statement along similar lines, Chair. The property's been lying empty for X amount of time, several years. My own opinion is far better to get it up and running and get some income from it. I was going to be flippant, Chair, but I'll resist the temptation to say we badly need a takeaway up that area. That's in my ward. It seems that people are very fond of eating around there. But on a serious note, Chair, I think it's wise that, and also more attractive to the surroundings if the place is open and being in use. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Dial.
Thank you, Chair. I've got absolutely no objection to a Thai takeaway. I would give it a try myself. I think it would be really nice. My only concern is that there was a photograph which showed the rear of the property. It's a bit of an eyesore at the back of those shops. And I think that any of the councillors from, Lloyd's would concur with that it does get a little bit messy behind there. So perhaps we could just have some kind of clause or something in the planning permission just to keep the rubbish under control at the back of the property, if we can, because I think there has been problems with rats down in that area. So can we put something into the planning application?
Yeah, thank you, Councillor Dial. I think that's actually a good picture of the area. So.
Yeah, Chair, I think a condition can be added. We just need to make sure that I think the red line does go around the back there, so that the proper details of bin stores can be provided, and we would then sign that off as a condition. So
okay, so that condition is going to be had proper bin store.
Sorry?
We're in agreement that a condition.
Yeah, be an additional condition to do with the bin stores.
Members are in agreement that a condition be added for proper bin stores. Councillor Armour wanted to say something.
I would agree with that, Chair.
Councillor Sims, yeah, good. Okay, so it looks like we're in lots of agreement. So do we have a proposer and a seconder? I propose. Okay, so yeah, go to the vote. Councillor Sims.
4.
Councillor Armour.
4.
Councillor Colquhoun. 4. Councillor Addison.
4.
Councillor Ziel.
4.
Councillor Buckingham.
4.
Councillor Watt. 4. So this application is passed, and that's the end of the meeting. But I think if we could all just have wish Councillor Sims good luck when he gets home after his wife hears the description of his driving.
She's watching on YouTube, right?